So when people start, or I was about to finish their actually 4-year, the 4-year program, and they start working, and what is the next step to get the licensing is, either move to a 5-year program or have a master's degree. And then people start asking because they already have a big debt from school. You want to get another one, I don't know, $20,000-$30,000 for a master's degree. So people start asking, like, what do I get after getting my master's degree? Do I really get, is it really worth it? And
Hi, everybody. Welcome one more time. This is Jessica Villarreal. I'm a foreign architect, and I'm in the process to get licensed in USA, specific in Florida. And we are here with Israel Olmos that he want to give us a perspective of how to get licensed in US and how he get to that point. And please, Israel, please introduce yourself.
how are you, everybody? So my name is Israel Olmos, as Jessica said. I'm the founder and president of Trazo Design. It's a small boutique firm for residential and commercial, but mainly residential for now. I graduated in 2007. I immediately started my process to get licensed. It took me around 4 years because you had to get, all these credits and then all the exams. So I graduated in 2007. I got my license in 2011, and it was a painful process. I'm not gonna lie, but I think it's something that everybody needs to do. It's something that I think the industry, or I don't know, I don't want to say the industry, because firms usually they ask you for license, they ask you to go through the process. But I think people who are working in this industry, a lot of them are kind of, I call them the Debbie Downers, like, why you do that?
Right.
Why you spend all this money? Why do you spend all this time? You really don't get much benefit from it, when you spend all this time. But I'm telling you, for the personal experience, you're gonna get to a point where you're gonna be working in this firm maybe 15 years, 10 years, and you're gonna get in the position to get to the next step. Call it I don't know, a senior associate. Forget about a principal. Forget about a bigger, senior position, and that's gonna be your glass ceiling. They're gonna tell you, you know what? I'm so sorry. You have it. I mean, you have everything, but when we present, because the way when you put a proposal needs to come with the services offered, and also a list of all the people who have participated in this project, and they cannot build that much, or you cannot build whatever they want to build if you don't have a license. If you're not a licensed architect, you cannot make part of the list, and for that reasons, they just tell you, like, you cannot go to the next step. And yeah, and there's a lot of people, and a lot of people who are listening to this, they know, like, there are a lot of colleagues that they've been working over there for 20 years, and they don't need it. But I'm telling you, you're going to get to a position, if you really keep going up and up and up, unless you're comfortable whatever you're doing, and you'll be doing it for 15 years, you're going to keep going, being there for another 15 years. It's okay. But if you want to really go to the higher position, start making decisions, and I believe, like, being successful is how much influence can you put in the firm you're working on, and if you're not in those positions, you can't. You just need to keep receiving orders and just doing whatever they tell you to do, and that's my belief.
And sometimes you're doing things that you don't feel comfortable to do as a professional.
Right.
I've been there in that position as well. But yeah, so basically, Israel is tell us here today that it's worth it. He did. And also, is everybody have a different goals, professional goals, personal goals, right? And in terms of professional goals, is I have this question, and after this question, we're going. I prepared to Israel Olmos and everybody interview here a series of questions here, and we will follow those questions. But to take the point, this license give me the option to grow in a company as employee, or this license is give me the opportunity to build my own company? Because I always, like you say before, I was talking with Israel before, is you have a ceiling as employee, but you might not have the ceiling as owner. So is this license for who want to build their own business, or you think they have to take it any? But some people is very comfortable being an employee. They don't have any problem 9 to 5, and I'm living in Chow, and I don't care what was left. As an owner, you have another perspective. So what you tell us about this? It's just a license as our for owners, business or owners, or a license to be in a good position in the company as employee?
I think it's definitely for both. I mean, and my personal story, I started like architecture late, like 10 years later than everybody else.
What do you mean?
I had a business. Yeah, so after in Mexico, after high school, I dropped off, and then I started my own business. I started buying and selling cars. I ended up like,
Oh,
owning
yeah, I see that.
owning a dealership, a used car dealership with my brother and my father. And so I was always more kind of the business guy. My first passion is business, basically.
Okay.
And I have this client who usually in Mexico is different. That's the other good take for a lot of the Latin American, especially Latin Americans, I think, architects, is that the architect, at least in Mexico, is a little developer. Usually they're not looking for, or they receive business for somebody else. But the main business is, buying the land, designing and selling that house, so selling that building. And in that process of having a used car dealership, one of my clients, he used to be in the negotiation table, and he used to call me, I'm receiving this Mercedes, this BMW for this house. How much do you pay for it? And I used to pay pennies for that. And everybody had a good deal of it. I received a car that used to make a lot of money. My client, the architect, used to sell his house. And the future owner had his house, so everybody was happy with it. So that was how I started into the world of architecture. And actually, after I knew design, I started knowing about design and practicing design, I just fell in love with it. But for me, it was business. And at the beginning, it was, let me get my degree, let me get my license, because I want to put my own firm. It took me almost 20 years to get there, because again, you get into these 9 to 5, it's nice. You're working in Washington, DC, you work in these firms. I got to be a senior lead designer of a firm, and you get into that. But my mind was always a business. And I'm telling you, if that's your goal, to have your own business, if you don't have a license, you're gonna be so limited. And you're gonna be competing with contractors. With contractors, they hire architects, but they don't even have a license. And the limitation of the projects you can take on is 3,500 square feet. Other than that, you need to have a license, or you need to be paying somebody else. I mean, personally, I'm no bank, but I make good money just doing the third-party review, reviewing everything and staffing those ones. So easy. It's a lot of responsibility, of course. It's some liability. Of course, I need to check everything. Nothing can go in without a thoroughly review. But if you don't have a license and you try to start your own firm, it's going to be challenging. If you want to try to take bigger projects, even in fact, if you want to take a project in a condo that has an HOA, as small as it is, as changing a bathroom layout, the HOA is going to ask for this to have a permit. In order to get a permit, you need to be stamped by a licensed architect. So I
Right.
think either way, I believe you have to get your license. That's
Right.
that's my belief.
All right. It makes sense. And talking about this, I think all of us start with a career and then we switch and then we come back. And that's what happened to me also. Was get an architect license in Costa Rica, and when I moved to US, I'm like, what am I doing without a license here? So I started having experience with firms in US because it's totally different, and that's what I did. And I don't know how much to charge. I don't know what was a good salary for me. Not experience a little bit of English. By the way, when I came here, I didn't have the language to communicate with even my boss. But after 6 months, I was very good. At least I can communicate well with them. So um that you say like you were a dealership and you were like in this business. So what inspired you to become an architect? You say you love art and you like design, but what inspired you to become an architect?
As I mentioned before, it was this client. It was me seeing this guy, making all this business, and business. And for me, it was like, as again, my first passion is business. And I thought like very naive, right? I
Mm,
get my associate's degree, go back to Mexico, and start my own architectural firm. And then start buying, designing houses, buying houses, cars, and, kind of trying to melt and put everything together for my business. That was my inspiration or my intention. Really, I don't want to say much so inspiration into architecture, but kind of that's the way architecture fell in my life plan at that point. Um, but it wasn't until I started taking, architectural classes. By the way, I studied in a community college
mhm.
because that was my plan. Really, my plan was never to stay in the United States.
Can
It
I
was
interrupt you? Sorry.
yes,
Can you explain a little more about community college? Sometimes I see
yeah,
people, it's like, what is this? How I find this? Can you
right,
explain a
right,
little bit
right,
more
right, right,
about
right,
that?
right. Yeah, so a community college is usually your local government subsidized schools, and there you get like an associate's degree. It's a degree, 2 years degree in almost every major. Um, and you need, in my case, I went to Nova and I investigated. There's some colleges, some universities that they don't take that many courses from a community college. So in my case, I started like targeting which college takes the most or all the credits from the
Mhm.
community college that I was going to. And in this case was Catholic University. And
Okay.
the good thing that I found going to a community college, at least in my experience in Nova, it was a super technical, like very technical. Everything was, details and how to build had to put together a building. There was just one class that was design oriented, and that's what I fell in love with it. But the good thing is when you feel a little bit is a disadvantage when you move to the 4-year program because these kids, they're being 2 years, just the teachers trying to teach them how to think differently and how to think out of the box and have all these, like metaphorical projects and projects with no budget, no structure, not technical at all, and you feel like intimidated by it. I think Catholic University at that point, I don't know now, but at that point it was very, very design oriented. Um, but as the time keeps going, you grasp that, or you embrace that thinking out of the box, being more design oriented.
Mhm.
As time goes up, then you start getting you start using the technical knowledge that you got from a community college. And I think at the end of the day, I think it was a very, very good balance, at least for me. Um, and also it's way, way cheaper, I think the credits at that time they were like, $300, $300 whatever. I
That's
mean,
cheaper.
yes, yeah, cheaper.
What is normally cost?
Like, for example, I think at Catholic University, I paid around 13 to $15,000 a semester. See, was pretty. It's not a cheap school either, you know.
Mhm.
But that was the school that they took the credits, and also once I fell in love with design, I think there was also Virginia Tech. That was my other option.
Okay.
But it's just the name tells you. You know, I went to a couple orientations. Just the name tells you, it's very, very technical, you know, and it's not that I already got my fix of technicalities, but for me to make the decision to stay in the United States, to move to the 4-year program and spend all this money, is because by that time I was already in love with design and I knew that I wanted to do for a living. So that's why I decided to go there. I think Virginia Tech was way cheaper than that. I think the semester, I think in Catholic was around 12 and Virginia Tech was like $5,000. It was a big jump and a big decision, but I'm really happy with it.
Yeah. Good. So thank you for sharing about this. And my follow question is about cost. Is not many people, even in carb, and we're going to the carb process in a little bit, but so then carb is they talking about the process, how you get things done and everything, but it's not just like a cost that you can have a general or idea and what you're expecting. However, I say this in previous interviews, do not be intimidated for this amount. Like, for example, he told me here, let me see, you say your expenses is around $70,000. Am I right?
Right.
That's including like the whole program.
Right.
And that's before NCARB, correct?
Oh yeah. Mhm.
So it's 70 for the studies. This is not including the NCARB process that we're going to talk a little bit here. So yeah, we estimate the other day around $100, probably.
Yeah.
More or less. Depends of your case. My case is different, like Israel, because I have already license, but he studied here, so it's kind of like different. That's what we want to let everybody, like everybody is a different case. I wish in CARB have this commit to understanding different cases and not general. Like all the foreign architects, yours are super different than mine. And it should not be that general process for everybody if it makes sense. But anyhow, so around $70,000.
Right.
How you pay this? You have no money, or I don't know what you did. Family help you? Do you work
uh,
11 hours per day? How you did?
it was a couple of again, we go back to, in my case, I was a business guy before being an architect, right? So, and real estate was my passion, as business was my passion, as cars are my passion. And that's how we ended up paying. I mean, I ended up getting married. My wife shares the same real estate passion. And then we refinanced the house and we put my dad over there. Because that's the other thing, like, you just want to study, you know, and you don't have any other option. Or you have options, but you don't like it. And
Right.
we're that young. I mean, I wasn't that young, I was 10 years later, but still, you know, this is my view, this is where I want to go. And this costs this much, but you know what? I'm not gonna pay until I finish studying, you know, it just becomes so easy. But when you see the interest rates that they charge you for student loans, it's just robbery. So when I finished my master's degree and we start seeing how much I was paying, by that time, we bought our house already. Interest rate dropped. We did the refinance and we put it there. It's an opportunity I had that I don't know if everybody would have, but that's the way I got rid of that. And not that I got rid, I just put it in something, in another asset, right? In a different rate. So That was the way I paid it.
Wow.
I know other people who are still paying it, like that went to school with, or they just paid a couple of years ago, and I graduated in 2007. So it's a lot of years, yes. So,
Mhm.
yeah. So be very mindful when you ask for money. And
Right,
how much you're gonna
right,
pay. See all your options and start making a plan as soon as you're about to start paying those, because you don't pay those until graduate. But you start making a plan, start working earlier. Don't take for granted that time that you have like a grace period that you're not paying, because it's gonna get you,
right,
and you're gonna stay in that debt for years and years, and other people can move on from it.
right, right. Yeah. And they start making their life, right? Your life should not be stopped because that and all right, and yeah. So okay, so talking about the NCAR process. This is a very interesting process. Again, I getting frustrated. I mentioned this a couple of times. When I see NCARB's interviews, or I call, oh, yeah, more interviews, or when I go into the website. So NCARB is the group give you a credential to have a license, architectural license here, right? So when I start logging in, figured it out how to start. Basically, my going to was ask my colleagues how you did. Some of them start, some of them start never, and they never finish, like we talked before, and guide me with them. They're like, oh, you should do this, this, this. But in the end, in the end of the day, it's your case. It should be unique, your case. So they say a lot, like when they have these interviews, I don't have like a straight answer for my case. So it's very overwhelmed, like how the process going and everything is difficult. So I do hope like so people seeing those videos and this interview get something about how we deal with the NCAR process. Tell us a little bit, very quick explanation, how you start, who tell you about this, you did by yourself, somebody help you, and also, do you went to the process with ISA, or you don't have to ISA? Okay, that's not your case. It's my case because ISA is the education evaluation uh, for architects, and they check your studies in your country. They request to have this translated, and they review if you are ready to take the art exams. And if
Mhm.
not, you have to take those, which is you talking about community college. Some people going to take those from community college because it's more affordable, or they can take it quickly online and it's more easy. But ISA is not the case. I would talk with other people going to ISA later. But tell us about NCAR process, general
Well,
information.
for what I understand, it's way, way, way different than when I started this process. I believe in my case, you need to finish your master's degree to be eligible just to start logging hours. Apparently now you can start logging hours even in an undergrad, I believe. So in my case, it was, and again, I started this career 10 years later. And so I always felt like I was behind, I was the oldest in the school, 10 years older than everybody. I didn't live in campus, so I was always thinking, how fast can I get to where I want to get? Uh, so in this case, for me, as soon as I finished, I started the process, and you start logging hours. I don't exactly know how it is now, but you had to log hours in every single stage of architecture. And one of the hardest one was like you need to log certain amount of hours in a contract negotiation. So we had the partners asking everybody that they were trying to enticing you to get your license. When I went to the partner, I said like, but I need these many hours in contract negotiation. Like you need to take me and to the deals and everything. And to be honest, they say, you know what? I just sign it for you. because it is hard. It is almost impossible. Like a junior staff is gonna be,
Mhm.
you know, even the same client. It's not even your firm. The clients, they have their budget so tight that they start counting how many people you brought to the meeting. You know, because you're
Right.
charging me per hour. As I say, when they put the proposals, they have the per hour rate of every single member, you know. And if you bring it a junior staff to the meeting, why are you charging me? I don't know how much they charge now, $150 for this guy who's not contributing anything.
Mhm.
Or in my case, I always was very design oriented. My aid to get into the design team was technology, software. I love software. And so I was helping the design team at that point. And then in order to get my NCAR credits, I needed to have certain amount of hours on CA, construction administration, which I never
Right.
touched, you know, or CD. So
Right.
I understand the point that you had to be, you know, involved or certain knowledge in every single stage. But I think that was the hardest part for me, trying to cover
Mm.
all those hours.
Mm.
And now I'm pretty sure it's way easier. But in my time, in 2007, you need to get a form, like fill it up, mail it, and wait for
Oh
them.
God. Oh God.
Fortunately, my the office at that time, it was right next to NCAR, like literally, like
Oh,
next door.
really?
Yes,
You're
yes.
lucky.
Yeah, I was in 1825 K Street. I think they were in 1817 K Street. So
Uh,
I used to
that's
go with
funny.
a little envelope and just turn it in,
Oh.
and then talk to people. And there were a couple of times that even like that, even like turning my paperwork in the hands of NCAR, it got lost. In a couple of months,
Mm.
I didn't receive any answer from them, and I don't know how to go back. And so at that point, I think it was the biggest struggle. It was all the
Mm.
bureaucracy. I believe now should be much easier. I think everything should be online, and you don't have to deal with all this
Yeah.
process.
All right. Yeah, it's understandable, like everything is different now. We do everything online, but in the same time, I was in DC as well. Sometimes I have so many questions. I have to be on the phone forever. Sometimes I I think I submit some documents and they say, "Oh, you all good. You don't have to worry about it." Like one time I submitted to ESA and I was waiting for the response, and they take 6 weeks, I believe, for them to say, "Oh, good, we're going to review." So it's like a 2 weeks to say good, and they're going to review. But so I call like 2 weeks after, and I'm like, "Is everything okay? Just to follow?" They're like, "We don't have anything." I'm like, "What?" And it's just I send it and I submit it, and somebody said, "Oh, we're going to submit this. I have the proof." So it's just like, I don't know. I believe like everything else. If you care, just follow. Follow. Don't let the things like, "Oh, I submit that. I will review that later," and not care anymore. That's not the right thing. So it's interesting that the way you did, and now it's still sending an internet. I'm not saying like it was just a little thing. It's still missing, but anyhow, we are in another times now. All righty. So also I asked Israel about what project stands out to you as the most memorable and what made it so special. Tell us about it.
That was a really hard one to answer, you know, because every
Uh,
single project is your little baby.
mhm,
The very when I saw that question, the very first one that came to my mind was the very first building that I saw built. That was my design. To tell you a little bit of background of how I ended up being the lead designer of a firm, it was 2008. The big
mhm,
crisis, big salaries, you know, forget about the talent, forget about how much you brought. Big salaries were going out of the window, you know, everybody was.
mhm,
So the partner at that time brought me to the office and he told me like, can you do what your boss can do now? are you able to do that? And I say, of course. You know, what other answer would I
Wow.
have? Like, of course I can do it. Are you sure? Yes. By that time, my boss was already like in part-time, and I don't think they let him go. I think at the point he was feeling that it was coming, and he moved firms. So I ended up being the lead designer. I mean, I wasn't young per se, you know, say I started 10 years, but career-wise, I was a junior staff. So my very first project that got built is something that came to my mind. But the one I think the more memorable, as the question was established or formulated, it was a project in 2009 in India. What everybody was dead in the United States. You couldn't get a project in the United States. I mean, I think there were firms that they were giving their services for free for a project in
To
order to get the following one because it was dead. I mean, this crisis hit real estate, and in that sense, it hit architecture like big time. I think we were at that time around 40 or 50, and we ended up being 13, you know. And every 2 weeks was like, oh my God, who's leading, you know, who's getting the call? And so it was hard. So this project that landed in a on our lap because of a developer, like there was nothing in this country, so he moved to India and he got a project. And I mean, like he got called from. He said, "I want you to manage this project. It's a big project," and he said, "Well, they called." And I was the lead. And we used to do hospitality hotels. That's the main thing that
okay.
we used to do. But so this project, I worked in multiple projects, and in a project, international project, I got to travel to India, and the experience was incredible. At that time, I already presented, a couple of projects. As you might know, in the design phase of architecture, you design 10 and only one becomes a project. So by that time, I had a little bit of experience presenting. As everybody, public speaking is always like really, really like challenging. At that time, I felt like I was already comfortable with it. I already presented a couple of times. But in fact, let me just go back a little bit. When they gave me the program for the hotel in India, and you're already, when you're in this industry for some time, you already have some kind of percentage of square footage allocated for the ballroom, where all the events are, well, in relation to the rooms. So when they gave me the program, I told the partner, I think they have an extra zero here. This is just, it doesn't make sense. And he said, well, this is crazy. Okay. So he called back the client and said, no, that's the way it's in India. The events in India, I mean, the hotel, it just gives you money. We're talking about Swiss hotel. We're talking about a, high-end brand. But the
All
big
right.
business is the ballroom, so it's like 30, 40 people in the room and presenting the project. And that was very, very intimidating, and what went well. So uh, um, that's a big memory, a good memory from that project.
Sounds great. Um, I can you hear me okay? You cut a little
Yes,
bit in
yes.
the okay. No, but I think you get to the end. All right. This question, and we're going to wrap this interview. Is a personal health. I was talking about the health for me is very important as a health coach. I have been learning that without health we cannot work. We cannot have energy to complete our journey during the day. And if you are in the position that you are tired by noon, something is not good with your health. That's what I
Right.
say, or whatever like dynamic the routines that you do. So I asked Israel how he keep, and also be an architect is sometimes overwhelming. Sometimes we work extra hours, weekends, because we have a deadline. So it's just the natural thing, I believe. So, in how sometimes we get to the point that we get overwhelmed and burning out, and we don't know until we get there and like, oh my god, I'm sick, I need to slow down. So how you manage that?
Well, now it's totally different. Now I own my own business, and I'm a big believer in do what you love. And once you do that, I mean, believe me, I think I work more hours than I used to work before, but I get in the zone, and it could be 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm designing and I'm putting options here and there, so I love it. It's not like before that I had to stay until 7 p.m., which wasn't that bad. It's, oh my god, what am I doing here? So in my case, being as a business owner, I pick the stuff that I don't enjoy, and for the same reason I'm not efficient on, and I just delegate it. Instead of hiring, junior staff, or I just found some production companies, and I send my production over there. I have project managers. I have some remote project managers. I have a guy in London. I got another guy in Mexico, and they in charge of that. And I just focus on design. And I think in my way, in my business, design and business, that's what I focus on my time. One, because I enjoy it, I can spend hours doing it. And I'm more productive with that. I'm more efficient on that sense. And the rest, like, I just delegate that. That's my way to manage stress. But I think that's the way. And I mean, I'm the same like you. I think health is the most important thing in the world, because you can have everything in the world. I mean, believe me, everything. Can have a good family, nice family relationship. You can have all the money in the world.
Money.
You can have everything. But if you don't have health, you cannot enjoy that, and they cannot enjoy you. So in my case, I start my day around 6:10 in the morning, with my kids, and by 8:30 I already put a workout. And sometimes when you're a designer, when you have these projects going on, sometimes you don't sleep just thinking about how I'm gonna solve that design work. And you wake up in the morning a little bit kind of overwhelmed already. I put a workout in the morning at 8:30. I'm already like, I feel a little bit accomplished. My mind is clear, and I can take the tasks that come in the day. I think that's my way to manage stress.
I love it. It's not easy. It's a habit. And also, if you're busy, sometimes some people don't relate with me. I don't have kids, and I have all the time for myself, and I take care of myself very well. But you are a father, you busy. Sometimes they are like, I cannot do all that. Like, take care of myself, take care of my kids, work, study, so many things. And it's just about, I will say, like, priorities. Thinking about what is your priority really when you wake up. What is your priority? And also, um, planning is important. Not just wake up and say whatever it comes, right? It's just planning ahead and then develop the habit. But I love it. It's very good. All right, Israel, I think we're going to get to the end. And the last question, it would be the advice for the foreign architects. We talk about a little bit in the beginning that it's important, and you recommend to get the license. I lost you.
Yeah,
Can you hear me okay? Okay.
Yes.
Can you hear me when I say we are in the last question?
Yeah, I heard that.
Okay, perfect, because it was frozen. So yeah, just give us your last advice here. You told us in the beginning, it's worth it. Do it because it's worth it. I did. And what is just last advice for the foreign architects are in the process and they have so many doubts and so many excuses to not do it?
I cannot give you any experience being a totally foreign architect. I mean, I'm coming from another country, but I studied over here. But I've seen both cases of people people who came from another country just like you with a degree or even a license. And I've seen most of them having the excuse that this is too difficult. And I know just a couple of them. They just did whatever it needed to be done. And there was this Brazilian colleague that I had that it got to the point they said, I'm just gonna go back to school for whatever classes they're trying to ask me for, and you needed to do the translation of the paperwork, and she did it all, and she's licensed. There's I think another guy from Mexico, but other than that, a lot of people ask these questions when they come from their country, and I think some of them they already like had firms or they worked in Mexico in different positions, and they just don't want to go back to maybe the studying or going through the whole paperwork, which is not easy. I don't think they make it easy at all.
No.
But I would say just do it. Let's go for it. Just go for it. It is worth it. Believe me. Even if you want to if you don't want to be, in the same position for 20 years, either you want to do your own business or you want to get to a principal position or be really in a meaningful position for your firm, go for it. It's worth it.
Thank you very much, Israel. Thank you for your time. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people there are going to identify with your story. And I will leave your email, your website, and everything in the box below. So everybody, if you are okay, and let me to tell everybody, please connect with Israel, because it's not only about his story, but also to the point that you get here and being an architect and business owner. Congratulations. It's not easy. And I really admire that from you. So thank you again. And I hope to see you in another video.
Thank you, Jessica.
All right. Bye-bye now.